Hi, this is Jason from Mr. Yorkie Lover Fitness, and a lot of you have been asking me what's up with Leroy Colbert, because you saw on Rick Drayson's video how he talked about that he was in the hospital. So let me just get you caught up on a few things. I talk to Leroy usually once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, but he has a friend that talks to him almost every day. And that friend called me last Monday. Today's Saturday, so a week ago from the following Monday it just happened. And he asked if I'd heard from Leroy, and he said his number's disconnected. And I talked to Leroy like a week prior to that, and I go, I haven't heard anything. So I go, let me see what I can find out. So I called Leroy's number, and it was disconnected, which, it's like, anytime I don't hear from Leroy for a while, I get worried, because he's 82 going on 83. And when you get to that age, first of all, no day's a guarantee for anyone, no matter what age you are. But when you're 82, almost 83, it's like even less of a chance of a guarantee. So I always get a little worried. But so when I called and the number's disconnected, I'm like, well, that's never happened before. Called a cell. No, there was no answer there either. So then I called, it was around 8 o'clock at night, so I called the place where he lives, the front office, to see if they can go on in his room and check on him. And they were closed, and so I'd have to call the next day. So anyhow, so Leroy's friend happened to call me the next day, which was last Tuesday, and told me that Leroy was in the hospital, and he was in the ICU. And I'm like, well, what happened? And he said that Leroy had, I guess, the day before he was admitted to the hospital, the day before, I guess, he had some complications breathing. And so they came, the paramedics came, and they wanted to take him to the hospital, but he's stubborn. He's a pretty stubborn guy. He didn't want to go. So he didn't go. And lately his ankle's really been bothering him. If you know the history of Leroy, you know that he severed his ankle when he was a teenager on his motorcycle, and it's been like a lifelong problem where it's like an open wound on his ankle. And during the winter time it gets even more sore, and it was really bothering him. So he was telling me he was probably gonna have to go in and have surgery on it again. And so he didn't go with him that Monday to the hospital, but that Tuesday, I guess he fell, and he was in the kitchen. He fell, he hit his head, he split his head open, he broke his jaw, broke his nose, and like, there's a neighbor of his that lives in this apartment complex that happens to check on him every day, and luckily this neighbor checked on him that day and found him, lying in a pool of blood on in the kitchen, and called 911. They came, they took him, and they took him to the ICU. So I don't know what's going to happen. I guess he's not going to be living in that apartment anymore, because they already like started cleaning it up, and they said there's all this blood, and they got to clean it up. So he's not going to be living in that apartment anymore. So I tried to call the hospital to find out stuff. His friend that first contacted me about this has been calling the hospital. And so he was in the ICU for about a week, and I guess they moved him to another room. But the problem is, like, when you call to find out what's going on with him, unless you're family, they really can't tell you anything. And he doesn't have really any family alive. And so I call and I tell him who I am, that I'm a close friend of his. I've been friends with him for about 12 to 15 years, and they can't answer any questions. They just said he's resting fine. And I'm like, well, is he recovering? Is he getting better? And they're like, I can't answer that, sir. So I mean, I don't know what's going on. They say he's conscious and he can't talk because he's got a tube down his throat, and even if the tube wasn't down his throat, he has a broken jaw from falling. But I don't know other than that, and everything I'm telling you is just what I've been told by various people. So, I'm gonna plan to go visit. He lives in Henderson, Nevada. I live in Los Angeles, so I'm gonna plan to. I'll get a week off next week, and I'm gonna drive up there, see if I can see him, and hopefully find out what's going on. But so I've been dealing with that, for like the last week. But then on top of that, for the last 2 weeks, my mother's been in the ICU, and in life, when it rains, it pours. Good and bad. And they told me when my mother was admitted to the ICU that she wasn't gonna make it. So it was a matter of time, and I had to make the call, because when she went in there, she had some brain damage, and I had to make the call whether to keep her on machines in the ICU or take off the machines. And the doctors told me that that even if she came to, she'd be a vegetable. So because of some other stuff that had happened to her, so I had to I had to tell them to take her off the machines. They said she would pass in usually 2 to 4 hours to a day, and she lived off the machines for about a week, and she just passed this Tuesday. So I've been dealing with that with Leroy. It's been tough. It's been a tough couple of weeks. This year's been kind of tough, and when it comes to stuff like that, because people always ask me, why is your channel called Mr. Yorkie Lover Fitness? And it's because it's the two things I love. I love Yorkies. At one time I had 7 Yorkies, and I love fitness and nutrition. And at the beginning of this year I had 5 Yorkies. They were 11 to 12, and in the last 6 to 7 months I've had to put 3 of them down because they get cancerous tumors, and I thought that was hard, having to put down these puppies. I helped when they were born. I helped deliver them. And so I had them, they were like, I don't have kids or anything, and they were like my kids, and having to put your dogs down in your arms, have to put them to sleep, is hard. It's a hard thing, but it's not as hard as losing your mother. So this year's been difficult for me, dealing with that, Leroy, and now my mother. So I'm hoping Leroy will get better, because he's my buddy. If your mother is still around, you should always hug your mother as much as you can. Tell her you love her, because you never know when you're gonna get that chance again. I just want you guys to know what was going on, with Leroy, with me, with the channel. It's tough, but everything will work out. Usually does. But I know Leroy's not really into religion, but if you want to say a prayer for him, I'm sure it'll help. I say prayers for him, not that religious of a person, but just pray for him, and hopefully he'll pull out of this. Like I said, I'll go see him in a week, and I'll give you an update when I know what else is going on. All right, thank you for watching, for supporting the channel, and for liking Leroy's videos. I appreciate it.